Hello there, it's Sarah from Paper Lovely. Thanks for joining me today. I've got 3 cards to share with you that I created using the Spellbinders Small Die Kit of the Month for March. And there I'm giving you a quick look at what was included in with the dies. So I've jumped in here and cut out a bunch of these flowers. I absolutely loved these layered flower dies. So I'm showing you how I attach them, and they are cut so that there's a back and a front. I didn't realize that when I started putting the first ones together, but you will notice that if you layer them with the taller piece in the back, it does look nicer, even though it does work the other way too if you really want it to. So I have gone ahead and I have cut out a bunch in some different colors here, and I did 3 different colors for each of my sort of color ways. So I'm just layering and sort of moving these around. I've got light on top of dark, dark on top of light, and since I had 3 of each color, I just spread them out as best as I could to get the most different looks for my flowers. Just adding a little glue dot there and placing one on top of the other. Here I've cut out a bunch of stems, and I'm just showing you, I just put a small little dot at the top of that stem and added it right at the bottom of the flower. Here I'm showing you quickly how I place the bunny together. So when I've got something that I want to inlay like this, I like to use some post-it tape on the back of it. I'm using the outline, which I cut out of a dark gray, and then for the sort of whitish color of the bunny, I actually used a soft stone color that's from Paper Tray ink. So it looks white, but it has just the slightest little gray tint to it, so it'll stand out from a white background. So I'm layering those in, and then I also grabbed a pink that I'm going to add in for the little ear sections, as well as that tiny little nose in the center there. I did have a little trouble with my ear sections cutting, especially the pink portion there, so you may want to use a shim when you run this through your die. I think that I would probably do that again if I cut out a bunch at one time and I was able to make it work, but if I were going to run that through again, I would definitely use one. And then once I've got everything in place, I'm just going to press that down nice and firm, and I will take my scissors and trim around the outline of my post-it tape. Okay, so let's get started with card number 1 here. I'm going to grab the larger of the 2 bunnies, and I want to create a shaker card. So I'm going to line him up here on a Nina panel trimmed to 4 by 5 1/4, just using a little post-it tape to keep him down. And then I'm going to run this here through my Big Shot. And there you can see I have added my shim, and this did cut out a lot nicer. So now that I have my shaker opening, I'm going to go ahead and add some 1/8 inch Scor-Tape, just making a rectangle around that. And then I will pull out a piece of acetate to cover it, peel away the backing, and place that down. So since that bunny is an odd shape, I went in my stash and I had some leftover foam circles that came in an old paper pumpkin kit. So I decided that I would go ahead and use that. If I were to do this again, I think I would create a much smaller rectangle around him, because I ended up using a lot of my shaker bits that you really won't ever see. I just needed to use a lot in order to make sure that the majority of the bunny was covered. So I did go ahead and use that here, and then I had some extra pieces from around that I went ahead and just used so that I could keep everything the same dimension when I place my panel down. I'm using some Martha Stewart micro beads, and this color is called Peridot. So I've gone ahead and filled that up. I peeled away the backing on that circle, and here I'm adding some computer paper just to keep that everything in there so that I can place this down on the front of my card base nice and straight. So I'll trim away that excess there. And then I'm going to add a little bit of ATG on the back. And then I'll peel away all the backing on those little pieces of foam tape around it. Then I'm going to place this down here on top of my card base, and this card base is made from MFT's whipped cream cardstock. So I decided I wanted a little more detail on the bunny, so I did grab the outline section and place that back inside. And then I played around with him holding a carrot or that flower, and I just really love the look of that flower. So I'm using here the Simon Says stamp Some Bunny stamp set, and I've stamped out the sentiment Some Bunny Far Away Is Missing You, and that is on Paper Tray Ink Lavender Moon. And then there you'll see off to the side I've also cut about 1/4 of an inch strip from Paper Tray Ink Plum Pudding cardstock. For the inside I used a Nina panel trimmed to 4 by 5 1/4 and stamped out the sentiment Happy Easter. So I've added some 1/8 inch Scor-Tape behind that purple strip. I'm just going to place that here along the bottom, and then I will trim off the excess off either side of that top panel. And then I'll take my sentiment, add a little bit of ATG to the back of that. I'm going to place that down right in the center on top of that darker purple stripe. For the bunny, I'm just adding some very, very tiny glue dots all along the back. I'm going to cover everything except his little paws. I'm going to try and sit him down as straight as I can so I don't have to move too much. I want to try to avoid any glue getting on that acetate. I'm going to add a little bit of glue behind just the top portion of the flower, and then I'll slide that stem down underneath his paws. I'll go ahead, add some ATG to the back of my inside panel and place that on the inside of my card base. Then here on the inside, I'm going to finish this up with a few carrots. I've done one of the large and one of the small. And these are cut from Paper Tray Ink's Orange Zest and MFT's Jelly Bean Green. And that will complete card number 1. So here for card number 2, I'm using one of the Spellbinders large label dies, and I'm trimming that out here from MFT whipped cream cardstock. Then I've gone ahead and trimmed out this sentiment Be Happy 3 times, and I'm going to go ahead and layer these just using some art glitter glue in between each of the layers. Then once that's completed, I will go ahead and glue these down on top of the label. And this is trimmed out of Paper Tray Ink's Lavender Moon. There behind the label, you'll see I've got a piece of chevron pattern paper trimmed to 4 by 5 1/4. This paper is from the 6 by 6 paper pad that came in the March card kit. I'm going to add some sticky thumb dots just along the middle, and I'll add a few of the smaller ones on the side as well because I want to tuck some flowers under there, so I want to leave myself a little bit of room. I'll go ahead and place that panel down on top of my card base, and the card base is made from MFT's whipped cream cardstock. And then I'll go ahead and place the label here in the center. So I've sped this up quite a bit, but I'm just fussing around until I'm happy with the layout of my flowers and the greenery. The green branches are cut from Paper Tray Ink Simply Chartreuse and MFT Jelly Bean Green. And then for the flowers, I have used several different colors. So for the yellow flower, it is Lemon Tart Harvest Golds, and those are from Paper Tray Ink. And then the darkest yellow is Pineapple from MFT. And the pink is Berry Sorbet from Paper Tray Ink, and Bubblegum and Pink Lemonade from MFT. Since the outside was so busy, I'm going to leave the inside without any extra sentiment, but I am going to add just a little cluster of this branch and 2 flowers in the bottom corner. And that will complete card number 2. So here for card number 3, I'm keeping things really simple. I've got one of my Nina panels trimmed to 4 by 5 1/4, and I'm going to add these 3 flowers right on top in a little cluster. I've used the same colors for the yellow and pink flowers as before, and the purple is Winter Wisteria and Plum Pudding from Paper Tray Ink. I'm going to use some stamps from the Simon Says Stamp Choose Joy stamp set that was last spring's card kit. And on the front here, I'm going to stamp Happy using my VersaFine Onyx Black ink. And then on the inside, I'm going to stamp You Bring Sunshine to a Gloomy Day. I'm going to go ahead and pop this panel up using some Scotch foam tape. And then I'll place that here down on top of my card base. And this card base is made from MFT's Bubblegum. And then before I add the inside panel, I wanted to add one more flower. So I've grabbed one of those yellow ones. I'm going to place that down. And then I will add a little bit of glue underneath the bottom of that stem to make sure that stays down nice and tight. I'll add some ATG to the back of that and then place that on the inside of my card. And that will complete card number 3. Here are a few close-ups of the finished cards. In the description box below, you'll find my blog post, which has additional photos and links to the supplies I used. If you enjoyed the video, please leave me a comment or a thumbs up and subscribe for more. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.